Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic had a video up recently about how you choose the next book that you plan to read. He was responding to a similar video by booktuber Steve Donahue. And I think Gareth's answer was mainly mood reading, which I believe he indicated Steve Donahue cast some aspersions on, that mood reading is not a thing. I saw Steve's video when Steve put out his video, and I don't remember the gist of it. But I think mood reading, it's a specific to BookTube terminology, as so many other terminologies that we use that really signifies something casual and makes it seem a little bit more important than what it is. I think mood reading means you read what you feel like reading for the most part. Just as we say, oh, I have a TBR, which just means what you plan to read, and I DNF'd a book, which means I did not finish a book. It's sort of a bit of jargon, which is unique to this community. And I thought I would go into a little bit about this. I think I tend to be a mood reader as well, but I do have plans and goals sometimes. So this book, which I finished recently, is a book which has rested in my possession for 40 years at least. I bought it when I was a teenager, most likely, and never read it, and finally nailed it. And while I was in the process of reading it, I realized that I really like Maurice Keene's style, and so I picked up a couple of more books by him. He did something on medieval warfare and something on outlaws of medieval legend. Now this one is interesting because this is his first book, and he said his whole career as a historian took off in another completely different direction, an unexpected direction. But as an old man, so to speak, he revisited this book. He said his views have changed so drastically from much of what is in here that he could not revise the book. But he wrote a new introduction to it, and if anything, I will read that new introduction, but it's not the kind of book that I expect to be reading anytime soon. This is on my pile of possibilities, and that is actually what is in this box. And I thought I would show them to you because while a book like this is not singular, there are other books which I have which have been sitting around for a long time. Being a watcher of BookTube, I do tend to pick up books here and there, which I hear mention of, and that does not mean that I plan on reading them anytime soon. I just finished Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a book that I heard many people discuss on BookTube, and decided to go with that. So I give a little bit of priority to things that I hear are good. And now where is the one I'm looking at right now? Oh yeah, I should just put the bookmark in it instead of putting it on its back. In a Lonely Place, which I am hopefully rounding up pretty soon. I heard about this on BookTube, I'm not quite sure where, and decided to go with that. And I just thought I would take a look at this box. I don't know where or why I picked this up, but it's the kind of thing I would have bought at the used store when I was a young man. And it sounds very interesting. This, I ordered something else and somebody sent me this by mistake. So of course I got a refund and they said, well, you can keep the book or dispose of it as you would. I have no idea what this is about. But it looks interesting, so that's a possibility here. This I picked up at the charity bookshop. I've never read Balzac, and I might like to. Brian at Bookish considers himself a fan of that author. This I just found recently, and a lot of people on BookTube have talked about Octavia Butler. I've never read anything by her, but I thought, well, this is the one she is most known for. I should have it handy. This book is called A Time of Gifts. Aaron Facer read this and really enjoyed it. I think it's one of a trilogy, and so I have it on hand. I don't like the yellowing which has occurred in my copy, so that may put me off. Interpreter of Melodies, I picked that up at the charity. I think somebody said what a glamorous woman the author is. A booktuber, Greg at Supposedly Fun, I think, pointed that out. And so when I saw this at the charity, I went for it. Oh, Dr. Faustus. Now, somebody was just saying that Dr. Faustus is one of their favorite novels, and they're trying to go through Thomas Mann's novels, and they have most of the big ones now. Who was that? Well, I'm not going to try. A Writer's Reality I just picked up somewhere. It could have even been a neighborhood box. I don't know. We'll see what this man has to say about writing. Oh, and here is the other Maurice Keene that I picked up. So I like to have, since Keene is a tried and trusted author at this point, particularly this and the one about medieval warfare, I like to have those handy just in case I find myself in a mood. I have no plans or no designs upon reading anything more in the medieval world at this time, but I want them accessible. An established author like this you may well find at the Chicago Public Library, but then the rigmarole of trying to get your hands on it would sort of impede any mood reading. You would really have to plan that out a month in advance. And this I found, I'm pretty sure, in a box. And some booktubers were talking about a similar book, and I mentioned this, and one of them looked it up and said, wow, that looks really interesting. And it does. And so that's on my list. This I really want to read. It's some kind of memoir from the Nazi era. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's supposed to be very good, but the World War II stuff, 9 November 1940. World War II stuff is stuff I try to stay away from, but once in a while I get into a role. I bought this based on a recommendation from Steve Donahue. And I really don't know that I will read it. It's a book I wanted to have for reference. I did very well with his recommendation of Disinherited by Dale Van Every. That was a marvelous book. And so possibly one day I will look at this. I don't feel that I need to. Vielkaff will spend his whole life constrained in this pen, and there's the pen. I don't know how much I need to inundate or immerse myself in this stuff. So, and I think here's another one. This author was mentioned by John David at his channel, and I was curious about the books that he mentioned, but I just looked up and saw, well, this is kind of interesting, and it was available for $4 plus 0 shipping, something like that. So I thought, well, I will be able to find out about the author a little bit. You can see Oh no, he's just the editor. But there, yeah, I think when I ordered it, I didn't realize that. I thought he had written the book, but there will be a good introduction, and I may have even looked at it. So these are all possibilities, but things that I'm not really likely to get to anytime soon. Here's one that I've heard a lot about on BookTube, and I purposely ordered this one. Beautiful copy came, and just looking at it, I was not particularly smitten with anything that I saw, but it has such a great reputation. And honestly, that was my reaction to Braiding Sweetgrass when I first opened it up. I have a physical copy and looked at it and went kind of meh. And then, goodness knows why, suddenly, earlier this month, I decided to read it. I could not find my own copy, and fortunately there was a copy, an ebook at the library, and so I read that. Another book that I've heard about on BookTube, this author, no, not this author, the author of the foreword has some books, and I think I have one of his books. And it sounds very interesting. When I was younger, I used to read a lot of Jerome Groopman and Atul Gawande. And reading about medical stuff seemed very interesting to me. At this point, I'm not so inclined, but I suppose instantly cancer touches me or somebody near to me, I will gin up my interest in such a topic. And this is something I just came across in a box, perfect shape, and the foreword is by Ellen Schrenker, I think, and I did read a book by her about the subject, No Ivory Tower, about the academics that were persecuted in the McCarthy scare. This one was recommended also, and it's something I hope to get to. Oh, this was a book box find as well, just the other day. So you can see I pick up books from different sources. Essays by Toni Morrison. I've only read one of her novels, and I thought maybe I should see what I feel about these essays. I will glance at them and then take it right back to the box. I'm not much of a reader of this type of fiction, but I heard about this on middle of the book march, and thought that it sounds interesting, but I don't know. As I say, this is not generally my type of genre to dip into. But Kim spoke well of it, I believe. This, I don't know anything about Iris Murdoch, and I'm not all that interested in reading about this is the sovereignty of good. Well, then I am interested. I thought it was the sovereignty of God, and I thought, well, I'm not really interested in reading about God, but good may be a different matter to God. So, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, I've come to really enjoy his videos on Facebook. They generally make you think, unless he's just producing nonsense content. I had a friend on Facebook recommend this series to me, a detective fiction, and this is the first book in the series. I haven't heard about it on BookTube or anywhere else, but I really would like to get back into reading mystery novels a little bit. I read them when I was younger as sort of a relaxing read without having to bang the head too much. And this is just a library book, which should not be in here. It runs the risk of getting carted away. Breakfast at Tiffany's. I think that where have I heard about this writer? I think at the Mayberry Book Club. I've heard good things said about Truman Capote or Capote. And it's a very short book and something that I would like to have on hand. Now there is a cat in the box, which is, of course, appropriate. So that is what mainly is in the box. I have Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, which I showed recently. And so I never know where my whimsy will take me, as the detective of Dorothy Sayers used to say. But generally I will pick from something that I have on hand based on a whim, or perhaps based on a BookTube recommendation, or perhaps based on a long-standing goal of some sort, or just any other sort of odd fluke. You just never know. I am reading The Fall of Constantinople by Runciman, and it just makes me want to read more things by the author, and so I have something which he wrote about the medieval world in the time of Dante, and who knows, I may dive into that sooner rather than later. This really doesn't give you any sort of rule of thumb even that I operate by, but I do think that I do tend to mood read, so to speak, but mood reading within a context. So I will just leave the video there, and thank you for stopping by my channel.